Welcome, 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 everybody. This is the Twisted Pair. As you know, I am Graybeard.
And I am Ash Red. And today we have a very special guest. And I'm going to let Graybeard actually introduce him today.
Wait a
I
minute,
do
I'm
that
going to get to
totally.
introduce. I get
Yes,
to
you
introduce
get to introduce.
somebody.
Yes,
Yes, I
because
get
I'm
to
going to
introduce
turn,
somebody.
because I
We
need to turn
have
on
got
my iPad.
we have got Mark Kitts, the CEO of Crossfire Cigars, and Mark, I want to say I am so excited that you're on with us, and here's one of the reasons why. Red and I have done so many different pairings over the past 18 months. And believe it or not, we've only missed over the past 18, 19 months now. I think we've only missed 2 or 3 shows total, and we do this every week. So think of how many cigars that we have smoked over that time period.
Oh
And
my.
there's not often that we get the chance to do a blind, what we would call a blind pairing of a cigar that we've never smoked before.
Mm.
And so this is exciting for me because we're venturing in to new territory with your cigars. So I'm excited. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be with you guys. Heard a lot of great things about Leaf and Grain, and just really appreciate you guys giving Crossfire a shout out tonight. So hopefully we'll have some good times tonight.
Oh, we will. All right. As we always get started, as we always start off, as I get tongue tied here today, I'm gonna start off with you, Red. What are you pairing?
Okay, so since we have a pastor among us, I had to get religious on my liquor. And so I'm bringing down the angels because they're going to be envious. So as y'all know, one of my favorites is Angel Envy. And I just, if I had the rye, I would really love the rye because y'all know I'm a rye girl. But so I pulled out the angels, hoping that they'll bless my pairing today. And then y'all told me how to say this cigar, and I already forgot. So I'm gonna let Mark go ahead and tell the one that I am smoking with. And I know it's a Brazilian wrapper, but I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you already, I'm getting like raisin and hay
Mm.
off of it.
Very good.
Anise, as what we'd say, anise,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
or that. So there you go. So I'm gonna let you introduce this my cigar.
Yes. That is our Paraca um, library series. It's probably it is our highest end cigar. It's got a lot of complexity to it. The wrapper is really unique since it's from Brazil. Um, it's a great smoke. You should get a nice even burn out of that, and probably not going to change too much as you smoke it. But I love it because it's just got a lot of flavor, a lot of complexity to it. Some good spice, and like you already nailed the some of the flavors that are in it. But that yeah, that's a great smoke.
Okay, so Mark, what are you pairing?
So I am going to do my favorite Crossfire cigar, which is the Platinum. Whoops, I get the camera right here. And I am
Okay.
going to pair that with a Four Roses single barrel, nice bourbon from Kentucky, where
Oh,
I
the single barrel.
yeah.
Which recipe is that?
I tend to go more toward the spicy, fruity, little floral taste to it. But I love Four Roses. I've been to
Uh,
their distillery before. I got a great story to tell you about that when the time comes. But
we'll get into that because I've got a great story
yeah,
about Four Roses too. So I think I'm going different than everybody. So I am going with the San Andres, and I believe this is from your library series too.
yep,
Okay, so I'm going with the San Andres, and I have not smoked this one. And the reason why this is really intriguing me is because the wrapper is a little bit lighter. I mean, it's a little bit more of your Colorado Maduro rather than your Maduro. So it's kind of, Colorado means brown, Maduro means ripe, and so it's kind of right in there between the Colorado and Maduro because it's not your full natural and it's not the full on deep Maduro.
Yeah.
either. So that's interesting to me. And because I decided to go with the San Andres, I am going with a wheated bourbon,
Mm.
and I decided to go kind of the opposite that Red did. So Red went with the Angels because you're a pastor, and I guess I'm going with the devil here, and I went with larceny.
Ah, very
So
good.
so do you like how I played that, Red?
Yeah.
You're muted.
Mm.
So
I
yeah,
said yes, I did.
th- this is batch number this is B521, and this is coming in at 121 proof, where you both went on the 100 proof or so and lower. I'm going high here.
All right.
I
And,
am
and
going to say on the cold draw, before I forget, because I forgot my beds today. Oh, yeah, and I wanted to show that off too. But
look at that
before,
wrapper.
but before I forget, I'm already getting like the stone cold fruit off of this, like the plum, the anise, and
Hmm.
a little bit of the hay. So on the cold draw.
Which I love that that's what you're getting off of the nose and the cold draw, because that
And
is
it's
what
got some spice to it too.
Brazilian wrappers are so known for, that stone fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize. Remember when we did that contest a few months back on what are you getting it out of it? And
Hmm.
we wanted people to get the nuances of it.
Hmm.
And this is what we're talking about of building your palate up, is because I love, we love it when we hear people, and especially when we can just pick it out and go, yep, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be getting from a Brazilian.
Mm. Very good.
Very. You know how when you open up a can of hot chocolate, the
Hmm.
brown powder for the hot chocolate, and just that you immediately open it up, that little foil on, and just that
Hmm.
poof of aroma comes out. That's what I'm getting on the nose.
Mm.
A very that very light powdery cocoa type smell.
Mm.
So tell us how uh, you got into how Crossfires came about and the story behind
Yeah, Crossfire has a really
that.
interesting background. The brand started about 13 years ago. Was started by a guy by the name of Brooke Brotzman, a really good friend of mine who's an amazing human being. He moved to the Dominican Republic about 30 years ago to start a mission to uh, they do a lot of stuff now, but he just fell in love with the Dominican people and wanted to dedicate his life to transforming the country. He married a woman from the Dominican. She's a lovely lady, Sandra, and they, were doing their ministry for gosh, almost 20 years, and realized that part of the culture there and the community where they have centers all over the country, but they started in Santiago, right next to Tamboril, which you guys probably know. A huge percentage of the world's cigars are made right there in Tamboril,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and they decided that it would be a really cool thing to start a brand to try to make inroads to the people there and identify with that culture. And they also, wanted to use it to help promote their work there. So he, for a lot of years, just had the cigars made at his cost, and they, handed them out very freely to anybody that was into it, in hopes that they could tell them about the work that they were doing in the Dominican Republic to change people's lives. So they were very successful at that. They did try to start it as a legitimate business, and they were into over 100 lounges at one point.
Wow.
But the guy that they hired to do it transitioned out of the company, and honestly, it just fell into obscurity. They really weren't selling them anymore, and that's been, gosh, probably 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. So Brooke came to me about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and he said, "Look, man, you're a business guy. I really, don't know how to do this as a business, and would you please buy this brand and put your business knowledge to it, and let's try to make it legit. Let's try to tell the world about Crossfire." So um, thankfully, I have a couple of other partners, and uh, we bought the company about a year and a half ago, and we wanted Brooke to retain some ownership, so he's still part owner as well. The guy's got 30 years of relationships in the DR,
Hmm.
a wealth of knowledge about the cigar industry. So he's been just invaluable to helping us. I've been smoking cigars for 20 years, but I feel like I'm, climbing a mountain, learning about actually selling them and cigar industry works. So if I say something that a noob would say about the cigar industry, well, it's because I am.
Well, we've got a friend and she's a big friend in the boutique industry, Kathy Portney, who runs Cigar Box Marketing.
Mm.
So if you haven't gotten in touch with her, message me later and I'll get you connected because she's all about marketing. But this is something that we've talked about. Because we are so big into the boutique industry, and the boutique industry is really huge here in DFW.
Yeah.
We see so many people, so many boutique cigars that think that their name and the cigar itself is just going to be enough, and they're forgetting the business side of
Oh
things.
yeah.
With the business side of things, you still have to worry about branding. You have to worry about brand awareness. You have to worry, especially with cigars, because since we can't advertise,
Yeah.
we've got that hold against us. Organic growth is our biggest means, and so with that, we've got to utilize all of our tools, and all of our tools that we have with us is getting into social media. So I'm really excited that we're already looking down that path because this is my second cigar I've smoked, and so far out of two of them, I've got to say so far you've got a good product.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. We product is definitely number one for us. We're not asking people to smoke our cigars just to be nice and to try to help out, uh, this work in the Dominican. We're asking people to smoke them because they like them, and we
Hmm.
do offer, I think, a complete line according to taste. If you like a lighter Connecticut or you like a heavier Maduro, then or the Platinum, it would probably be our heaviest cigar. Then there's something in there for you if you're a true cigar smoker.
So, tell us about it, because I'm not gonna lie. Um, I hadn't heard of Crossfire until that came to us, and I'm like, what? I don't know
Yeah,
about this brand. Tell me about it. So, how many are in your line? And, I know that I have a box press, but I've seen that there's other Vitolas. And so, if you wouldn't mind going through and bragging about y'all's product,
Yes, please.
yeah. So
time to
we are
shine.
we are most proud of the our master blender. He's a guy by the name of William Ventura. He was the number two employee
Hmm.
at Davidoff Cigars, and he
Yep.
became their master blender for 25 years. For all practical purposes, this guy built Davidoff. He left the company to start his own factory, and now he doesn't want to make a name for himself. He's just very content to um, make great cigars. And so he does that for
Hmm.
other brands. Um, Probably the best known brand right now is Caldwell. He makes just about all of
Yeah.
Caldwell's cigars.
Oh,
Um,
we know the name quite well.
Yes, we do. I
yeah,
was going to
When,
say,
when, when
tell
you
me what's
mentioned
his
that name,
name.
when you mentioned that name, I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
we
that
know him.
explains a lot on these cigars already.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
impressed.
yeah. His son, he has two sons and a daughter. His son Henderson also has a line called Adventura, and they're
Yeah,
really good
that's what
cigars.
I was about to say. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
because and it was really. not to like go across, but like I was gonna say, his son's Henry, and sadly, one of their factories. I mean, not the
Yeah,
factory, just burned down. But they have such a positive. He had such a positive outlook on it about it's
yeah,
okay. We're going to come back and we're going to be bigger and better. And so, if you have that, also go support them because they're going through a rough time. So do that. But you do have a great master blender who is blending your cigars. So yeah, so that's really cool.
So
yeah.
go, while you
He's a
go through these lines.
I will. Let me tell you a little bit more about William really quickly.
Yeah.
He is a super humble guy. He is not the typical cigar guy that just is always about the personality and the bravado that comes with that um, culture. He's just the nicest person you'd ever want to meet.
Hmm.
Yeah, they had a really big factory that
Hmm.
just recently burned down a few months ago, last fall, I believe it was, and they
Wow.
lost 1.2 million cigars, went up in flames. Isn't that horrible? But
Hmm.
they
That
are. Yeah,
that
can you
that
imagine?
that that breaks my heart just to multiple levels. I mean, it's sad that anybody loses, part of their business to a fire, but I
Yeah.
mean, come on. I mean, it's one thing if it's paper plates. It's a whole nother thing if it's
Yeah.
cigars.
Yes, absolutely. Thankfully, they have another factory. It's a smaller one
Hmm.
where our cigars are made and stored. So Crossfire was not personally affected, but my one of my partners was just there last week, and he said,
Hmm.
"You know what? They're making do with what they can. They've moved
Hmm.
as much as they can to the smaller factory, and to try to
Yeah.
keep the business going. And they'll be back on their feet. They're looking at
Hmm.
new facilities, and they'll crank it back up. But so when we bought the brand, there were, gosh, probably 25 different vitolas. I mean, it was
Wow.
unbelievable. Which
That's a lot.
honestly, I think my and my other main partner felt like that was too many, too complex to try to keep up with the different sizes and warehousing that, and inventory is always a challenge
Hmm.
with a cigar business. So honestly, we brutally went through all of them, and we have pared that back down to less than 10. So we still have a few hundred boxes that we're frankly trying to sell and get rid of that inventory. And by the way, if all the cigars that we sell today, the newest ones are the platinums, and they're about 7 years old. The rest of them are like 11 years old now. So you guys
Wow.
know that's a pretty cool
Yeah.
thing to have a cigar that's aged that much. So we're sad that we're going to be losing that inventory. Hopefully people will be buying them. But on the other hand, we're pretty excited too to let you know that we're going through a total rebrand, and hopefully by this summer you'll start to see that come out, and we're going to pare it down to about 7 sticks. So, and we're really excited. We've got a couple of new sticks that are coming out that are just really good. So,
So
so
so I gotta ask. Please keep this stick.
we are,
Please.
and we'll start with that one. All right.
All
Uh,
right.
you,
Thank you, because I could tell you right off the bat, and apologize for interrupting, but I am just I haven't even paired it with my drink yet.
mhm.
As this San Andreas, this is a lighter colored wrapper for a San Andreas. Because they're normally a darker Maduro. Um, the chocolate is much lighter, it's much calmer. I'm getting a little bit more pepper in the front of it, which is really nice. I'm really enjoying that. Uh, it's almost kind of reminds me of a, you know, I'm kind of thinking a little bit of graham cracker with a little bit of cocoa on it and a little bit of jalapeno pepper, because it's not a black pepper, it's more of a Caspian type pepper on that, and I'm digging this.
Yeah, well, San Andreas is a Mexican leaf
Hmm.
grown in Mexico, and it has a really unique texture. It's got kind of a rough texture.
Yeah.
It's got a little, like almost like sandpaper a little bit compared to other cigars, which are really smooth. And uh, got a nice texture to it. But it's a great smoke. People that like San Andreas really like them. Yeah.
But you can see just the construction on this. The box press on it is nice with it. Um,
Mhm.
I've got a good draw. The burn on this is really nice and even.
So we call those they're box pressed, and they're a 6 inch by gosh 56, I believe, a ring gauge on it,
Yeah.
and they come in a really unique box. I've not seen this anywhere else in the industry.
Ah,
The library series, and it looks like the box. This is all wooden, but it looks like a book. In that the edges have what look like pages, and it's got a little ribbon here that you can pull a drawer out, and you actually see the cigars.
I
So,
like that. That's really cool.
and
What's funny when Zach brought me your cigars, and he brought them in the box, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, Graybeard, I want my box back." And it took me a good 5 minutes to figure out how to open up the box, but that was one of the most unique boxes I've ever seen.
yeah,
I,
it,
I
Stands
think
out.
I think the box may get lost.
yeah, it's a fun box. We are not going to change the logo and everything on this box. We're always going to keep it, and then we're going to call it our vintage line as salute to
Mhm.
our heritage. So these are a lot of fun. So there's three of them. The first
Mhm.
one that Red you're smoking is the our
Yeah, I was
Proc.
like, it matches mine.
Yeah, it's green. And then we also have the San Andreas, which Graybeard's smoking, and that's what that looks
Matches
like.
his. Yeah.
And we also have a Connecticut, which is called the Diary of a Connecticut.
I like that Diary of Connecticut.
I like that.
Unfortunately, we are sold out of these right now. We have them on reorder though, and hopefully by
Mhm.
early summer you should be able to order those again. But yeah, this is just a really fun. I'll tell you a quick funny story about how this box
Mhm.
came to be. So the uh, it's actually a ministry that is in the Dominican Republic that Brooke started, and he's giving out, a lot of these cigars to pastors, people that are in
Mhm.
ministry, and they wanted to create a box that a pastor could put on his shelf, and no one would know that it's actually cigars in there. True story.
I
That's how
love,
this got.
I love that. So I'm gonna tell you a little story. Is my uncle? He is an Episcopalian, so he's his most holiest, highest archbishop that was in his church.
Wow.
And I remember him always smoking cigars every time. And he was also a police officer. But my memories of just are him, and he had a beautiful fuchsia color shirt with his collar and just smoking a cigar. And he would always have his other bishop friends, and they would come over and sit around his backyard. And so I would see all these bishops smoking cigars. So it's like every time I see a bishop, I automatically think that they smoke cigars.
I think I'm the only person in my family that's ever smoked cigars. I've been smoking cigars since '92, and I think I'm the
Wow.
only person in my family that smokes cigars. Now what's funny is I go home to visit my mom and dad on occasion, and what I do, my dad always makes sure to let me know of hey, son, please don't bring your wine or your whiskey here because we abstain. But he lets me know I can bring my cigars. Whenever I light up a cigar out on the his back patio, he always comes out and sits out there with me. Because he
That's
loves he loves
The smell
loves
of
the
it.
aroma, the smell of it. And so
Hmm.
many people love to smell the cigar, but they don't, they don't smoke the cigar. How,
oh yeah.
you're a pastor. I mean,
Yep.
we started that started off that. How has you smoking cigars had an impact on your ministry, or do you feel like you have to kind of hide that part of your life from your
What's it?
patronage?
Well, I was going to say, well, it depends on the religion, I think, too.
Yeah, it depends on the
Mhm.
denomination and
Mhm.
how open they are to that sort of thing. There's been a dramatic shift over the last, I would say, 25, 30 years regarding attitudes toward cigars and alcohol. Before, in my early days in ministry, yeah, you just didn't drink, you didn't smoke. That just wasn't cool. But
And
now,
girls didn't go with guys that do.
oh yeah, right. But now I was at a board meeting last week on this ministry that I serve in, and it's all full of mega church pastors. And one of them looks at me and says, "You know what? All of my pastor friends smoke now. I'm the only guy that doesn't smoke." So that tells you how far we have come in the last
Okay.
30 years. But
Yeah.
now this board that I'm on, it's with a group that does an annual conference for pastors. And about, I don't know, 15 years ago, the conference, it was underground then. They would go to the conference during the day, and at night we would all meet up at a local cigar lounge. And
Wow.
every year it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. First year I went, there were probably 20 people there. And last time we finally went above ground with it, and we actually sponsored a cigar lounge as part of a pool party at this big pastors convention. And we
That's
had probably
awesome.
200 pastors come to it out of the 1,500 that came to the conference. So that tells you something, that the attitudes are much different now.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I'm curious about the names because
mhm.
on like the cigars because I've never heard of this name. Oh, and so what does the name of mine mean, or the name of the other books mean?
What does the Crossfire name mean?
Well, not the,
Yeah,
that one. We'll get to that one, but the name of the cigars in the library series that y'all have. Diary of a Connecticut. I can kind of get that one, but like
yeah.
I.
They're all just meant to be like book titles. The Count of San Andreas is the one, Graybeard
Okay.
Smoking,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is called Legends of the Arapiraca. So they're just book
That's
titles. You make them
that's
look like
funny.
books. Yeah.
So Crossfire. Now I don't know if you are on Instagram, but when I posted the first song that I did was from a Christian book, and it was from a Christian band. And it was called Crossfire. So
Wow.
it's called Fire, and it's got the word Crossfire. So how did Crossfire come about? The name.
Yeah, that's a good story too. So a bunch of missionary guys in the Dominican Republic were sitting on top. They have this three-story building that they built called the Leadership Development Center, and it's a really cool building. But they built
Hmm.
a open air, I don't know, patio on top of it, and I think that's where they were sitting. But they had a fire going, and they were just having a great conversation about life,
Hmm.
philosophy, politics, faith, and toward the end of it, and they're all smoking cigars, and they said, "Wow, this is a really cool bonding moment." That's what cigar
Hmm.
culture is around the world.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry, not to be sexist, people getting together,
Hmm.
and it just, you know what it does to people. It relaxes you, and I've never seen two people fist fighting while they're smoking a cigar. Right? There's just something about it that lets people's guards down, and you're able to have a great conversation. That's
Hmm.
happened to me all over the world.
Hmm.
But they said, wouldn't this be really cool if we could foster more great conversations around cigars? And because they're believers and missionaries, wouldn't it be awesome if people could have faith conversations around
Hmm.
cigars? So that was the birth of the Crossfire name. How can we lead people to the cross? Sitting around a fire, smoking
I
cigars.
love it.
So there it
Very,
is.
very
So,
cool.
and
Very cool.
you're a member of Holy Smokes,
I am, yeah.
as am I, and as is Red, and that's Holy Smokes, for those who don't know what it is, it's one of the largest online cigar groups of all Christians from different denominations, but there's 6,000 members worldwide.
Yeah.
And that's just that's just mind-boggling that there's 6,000 members that worldwide, all Christians, that's all about cigars and cigars and whiskeys,
Yeah,
and we love it.
it is. It's an amazing phenomenon, classic story of something going viral on the internet, and all like you said, 6,000 people all over the world just join the group on Facebook. It is moderated, but the awesome thing about it is people that are unsure about church and Christianity, they're welcome to come to these meetings as well. And I can tell you several stories about where that has happened. And again, because it's non threatening, um, people have come and met other believers and they get to talk openly and without threat or judgment about their reservations, their doubts, their concerns about what it means to be a Christian. And they can meet some really cool people that are happy to talk very candidly. And, hopefully for those people, it's probably the first time that someone has ever just calmly explained to them what it means to follow Jesus. So it's a pretty cool thing.
It is cool. I always call the cigar the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Because as you said, when we come together with a cigar, it doesn't matter religion, um, in any of it, the cigar brings us all together.
Yeah. Very
And
true.
I'm going to say I'm getting now plum
Oh,
on it, you know. And then this is, and I don't know if it's because of the Angel's Envy, but there's a little bit of a sweet apricot probably in the back, like a
mm,
sweet. There's a sweetness to it. And I'm thinking it's probably coming from that Angel's Envy on that. Um, it's
nice.
helping it out. So it's not a bad pairing for that. So I'm excited about that. I like because it's that fruit. It's that fruitness from the Brazilian.
Well,
Good.
I'll be honest. I'm only just now getting into the pairing, and so I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. I'm enjoying the cigar and all of the different notes that has with it. So I'm about to start the pairing.
Nice.
It and there's like a sweetness to it, and I can't quite put my foot on it, and it's sitting here. I'm racking my brain. Like it's like it's a very sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It's almost kind of like it's like a natural sweetness to it.
Hmm.
So I'm really enjoying that as well. It's like a floral sweetness, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And I don't want to say honeysuckle because it's not like that sweet, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Is it more of a lavender type sweetness with it? Because you know how a lavender will have those really strong floral notes with just a hint of sweetness
Right.
in it.
It's not so much of that. It would probably because usually lavender is just like so forward,
Yeah.
on that part, and it's not that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a qual D, of that floral of the qual D,
Okay. Yeah.
Paul Dorsey.
Now's when we need to have our pairing wheel in front of us.
I know. I was like,
We
we always say that we're gonna get our pairing wheel, and I always forget it. I just need to tape it to my ring light. That's what I'm
right.
gonna do.
Yeah.
We spent hours upon hours of putting together this pairing wheel, and we started off with the cigar notes wheel,
Mm.
and then we picked up a wine and figured out what the deltas were on that and brought those deltas in, and then the same thing with a whiskey, and then the same thing with a coffee, and brought each of those whatever the deltas
And
were
beers.
from,
Hmm.
from yes, and beers. And so now we've got this large wheel that breaks everything down, and we call it our pairing wheel.
Nice.
And so when we're teaching people about how to pair and how to identify what you're thinking, because we don't come at it from the scientific standpoint that a lot of others like Cigar Sense will do. We come at it from the psychological aspect of it. Is what is it that what memory was brought up,
Mm.
and then when from that memory, look onto the wheel and see where you're drawn to. Are you drawn from, are you drawn from the upper category of the woodsy or the grain or the fruit and florals, and so forth, and see where you're coming into from that.
Mhm.
And that helps you understand and be able to identify your palate. Because we all taste things. It's just sometimes we don't know how to identify it, so we'll say, I'm getting a lot of tobacco and a lot of leather, or like out of a bourbon, I'm getting a lot of vanilla and caramel,
Mhm.
because that's what you're supposed to get out of those, and it's known to get those.
Mhm.
Um, and here it is. I'm gonna say it's got some like that vanilla probably.
Mm.
It's like and it's more of the smell. It's not like how a vanilla tastes.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be. Here's the thing. It's like whenever I retro hell, I do get some spice on it. It is quite spicy on the retro hell, which is shocking. So I'm kind of wondering what is the binder and filler on this.
Yeah. So one thing that's consistent through all of our cigars is all of the fillers and binders are Dominican. The
Okay.
only thing that's different is well, the blends are different, but the wrappers are different. They're not all Dominican. So like the San Andreas is Mexican, our Habano, which I haven't showed you yet. We haven't talked about the
Yeah.
rest of them. This is our Habano, and it's a Ecuadorian, and some of them I believe are Dominican as well. That
Mhm.
Graybeard's holding up is what we call the Executivo, and we have three different blends of that. There's a Habano, Connecticut, and a Corojo. Those are
Ooh, I love Corojo.
What
Yeah, those
what
are great smokes.
what seed are you using in the Connecticut? Is it the actual Connecticut shade or Connecticut broadleaf, or are we just calling it Connecticut because of the coloring?
I really don't know. That's a really good question. I'll have to ask the next time I'm down there. Um, it's the Connecticut. I really like our Connecticut, and I generally don't like Connecticut's, but I like and the reason because most of them have a bitterness to them. With all of ours, especially because of the aging and some of the blending, they're very smooth. I don't taste any bitterness in our Connecticut's. So if you're a Connecticut fan, check those out. The only thing we have available right now with Connecticut is those Executivos that you just held up, Graybeard. They got a tapered end on both ends,
Hmm.
and it really changes profile as you smoke through it. It's a nice 1 hour smoke.
Yeah, I mean I love the double perfecto of it, and I'm a fan of double perfectos because it gives you the best of both worlds. So this is what we would call a double perfecto, where it tapers on both ends.
Yep.
And the reason why I
Mhm.
say it gives you the best of both worlds is because you've got the small ring gauge here, and you got the small ring gauge here, but
Hmm.
yet you've got that combustion where the flavors from the visos and the secos will come out, and you get a little bit of a more of a bodied smoke, so a greater viscosity of your smoke
Hmm.
than you do on the smaller ring gauges. And so,
Yep.
best of both worlds.
Yeah,
I
that's
figured out where that sweetness came from. It's the Angel Envy.
there you go. That's why pairings are so important, right?
Hmm.
And that's the bourbon, right?
Hmm.
So that's a
Yeah.
port cask on it, which
Yeah.
would explain it, and that would explain why those stone fruit plum notes are coming forward
Hmm.
even more so than what they did when you started off. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I'm not complaining about it. It's good.
I have some assistants on helping me here. It's a broadleaf, Connecticut.
Okay, broadleaf, perfect.
Yes.
And that's that's going to give you some really nice, interesting flavors from that, um, because it is the broadleaf of it, and that's a powerful leaf.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's a powerful leaf. A lot of broadleafs will bring you out a little bit more of those stronger, heavier, grainy, earthy notes.
yeah. If you like a good, creamy, thick smoke, our Connecticut's deliver that. It's a nice, buttery, smooth draw and good even burn. Yeah, you guys. I think I may have threw one or two Connecticut's in there for you guys. If I didn't, I'll have to send you one of those.
Okay, I want to talk about real quick because if you notice the smoke, and we've talked about this,
Hmm.
and it is a thick smoke, and some cigars you have are not thick smoke, and we've talked about this,
Yeah.
and I'm loving the fact that it is a thick smoke. And what I'm saying by thick smoke is you can see it, you can see how the smoke is, because there's some where it's not like that. And I think it on these particular, it's because it's an older cigar,
Hmm.
and and you don't have that on the younger cigars, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to bring that up because we talked about that before, Graybeard and I have.
Yeah.
So is this Michael Kitts? Is this a relative of yours?
Yes. Hello, Michael.
He,
That's my brother.
he's asking a very pinpointed question. I am going to ask that we don't answer this question because, especially on YouTube, that's one of the things that their algorithm goes to cut us off. Uh, so if we can get a ballpark range of from low to high on the price points are, and if you could let us know what states that you guys are in.
Yeah. So we are just getting started with getting into lounges. We've only had the brand. We bought it like a year and a half ago. We just got the website up a little over a year ago, which is new. We sell them direct online. That's never been done before. So, and by the way, anybody that's interested, you can go to crossfirecigars.com and you can see our whole lineup and the pricing and all that. But they typically range $10 to $12 a stick, so not terribly expensive. Not on the
Mhm.
low end. We're not trying to be a low end provider, but yeah, there should be something there for everybody. If you're new, if you just want to try it out, we have sampler packs. So that would be my recommendation. If you just
I,
want to try it out, um, try the library series. That's a good sampler pack, and try one
Mhm.
of each of the three. If you want to take my recommendation and you like, you're an experienced smoker, you like a good, uh, hefty cigar, go with the Platinum. I love that cigar. That's my go-to cigar. We sell a sampler pack of that, 5 sticks. So, but you can get a box of 20 Platinums for $199. So it's really pretty reasonable.
uh, okay, that one just kind of blew me over there. You can get a box of 20 for 199.
Hmm.
That's an incredible price.
Yeah.
That's it. And for these cigars, I mean, what would I put these cigars up there with, with the Atabays and with the the Opus X's, and
Oh,
some of
thank you.
the upper regions of those? No. But is this a great everyday cigar
Hmm.
that I would say do would I say that this cigar is box worthy?
Mhm.
Absolutely. This cigar right here is a box worthy cigar.
Thank you. Well, see, I think it is up there with Atabey, but I thought that's where you were going to go. But oh well, I'll take it.
I think I think it can get there. I think it can get there. What I'm loving about this is you you and your blenders have really pushed the envelope with what you're doing with the blending. So of go staying true to the Dominican,
Yeah.
but coming out with different wrappers for that. With the A word, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, that Red is smoking. And then the one that I smoked earlier this week, which was the Maduro, that has a Ecuadorian Habano shade grown wrapper on it. I mean, I've never seen an Ecuadorian Habano shade grown. And like I said, I've been smoking cigars for for almost 31 years, 32 years. So I've lost count. So I like that you're pushing the envelope on those. You're trying different blends with different wrappers and really bringing out some of the nuances of those expressions that the different wrappers will bring.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a
And
good
there's,
one.
I was gonna say, and Dominican, you can always get like a little bit of the sweet hay to it,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it's in there in the back
Hmm.
of the smoke of the cigar, and like with this one, I would definitely pair it with Jesus's first miracle wine.
Yep.
So like some red wine or even a port. I would definitely put this with a port, and this would be great as a dessert cigar.
Oh,
Like after you've had like a big steak
yep,
and something like a heavy meal,
yep.
this would be a phenomenal smoke with the steak and then going on forward with a dessert. Like through
Hmm.
this one would go through all parts of that meal if you're putting smoking a cigar.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank
This
you.
one here, it's pairing really nicely with the Larceny, which is a weeded bourbon, and this one is a high proof. It's holding up to the proof. It's holding up to those beautiful notes on there. It's in the pairing and going from the bourbon to the cigar. It's actually bringing out really a little bit more of that creaminess that
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
would expect from a San Andres, but what I'm also getting, which is really interesting on the retro, I'm not getting any spicy or peppery or baking spices or anything else like that on the retro.
Hmm.
I'm getting that sweet hay that the Dominican is known for. So the Dominican's not hidden. The Dominican tobacco is not hidden by the San
Hmm.
Andres, which the San Andres is a very bold, intense
Yeah,
flavor wrapper.
yeah, yeah. I like
I'm
that
getting
too.
a little bit of grassy, a little bit of grassy notes, like I said. I'm
Hmm.
getting some graham cracker, a little bit of graham cracker notes
Yeah,
on it, and so it
and
really
I
makes me
got some
think.
grams too.
And Red, I may get a look on you, but I'm going to throw this one out there. I am really interested on this one here, which didn't think I would ever say that with the San Andres wrapper. You can't hear me?
No, I just mouth what I think you're gonna say.
Oh, I don't read lips. I I would be really interested in this one with a white wine, like a Chardonnay, a high region Chardonnay that's going to bring out a little bit more of those buttery notes, those green apple type notes, as opposed to
Hmm.
the lemon notes, or a an IPA.
Mm.
Yeah, I could see the IPA, but I would almost do a stout with
Oh,
it.
a stout, yes, a stout
Yeah,
with
I was
the
gonna say a
creamy notes
stout.
on it.
Yeah, I would say a stout, and I would go for either like a salted caramel.
Mm.
Mm.
I think that would do really nice. I mean, and then just a regular stout, or even a peanut butter. And then one that you're gonna look at me for craziness on this one. There's a like a thin mint stout,
A thin mint. Ooh. Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
or a thin mint cookie.
I would not pair it with an Islay Scotch.
Hmm.
A really peaty, maybe a slight smoky Islay, but not a really peaty one. And I'm not sure that I would go with a real gamey, heavy, meaty red like a
Hmm.
Cab Franc or a Cab Sauv.
Hmm.
I'm maybe bring it down a little bit with the Tempranillo, down into the Pinot Noirs, the Chiantis, something along that line. But I think that the Cab Franc and the meatiness and the Cab Sav of that would just overpower the cigar.
Mm.
Another
But
one
I'm
I
not
was
sure.
thinking is rum. Like I was almost tempted to go see what a rum run and like I want to run and go get my rum to see how it would. because I think it would be really soothing, or even a sipping vodka.
Okay, so we've got a question here, and this comes from Bert, and Bert is our king of questions. And he always asks this question of all of our guests. So when you're not smoking your own brand, what do you like to smoke?
Oh my goodness. I hate these questions of what's your favorite, you know.
And every guest says the exact same thing. So sorry, that's not allowed to
Hmm.
be your answer.
No, no, no. I'm not a homer. I'm not, I smoke all kinds of cigars. I don't smoke just our brand. My absolute favorite cigar is probably a God of Fire Anniversary Edition.
Oh,
Yeah, that is, oh man, such a good cigar.
oh, that that
Yeah,
is such a good cigar.
yeah. I'm a big fan of the Andalusian Bull as well, LFDs. That's a great stick too.
I like the Andalusian Bulls, but really from LFD, I prefer the M5 over
Wow.
the Andalusians.
Yeah.
And I've got an M5 in my humidor, and I'm like, do I want to smoke this? Yeah, no. Gonna hold it. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah. Those don't leave my humidor very quickly. The God of Fires, the Andalusian Bulls. Um, I like Padrones. The number one natural. Oh my goodness, that's a good stick.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So let's hear your Four Roses story.
Oh yeah. So I'm originally from Kentucky. I was born in Lexington and grew up there like high school years. And my birth father, which that's another interesting story if you want to go there, but he actually lives about 45 minutes west of Lexington. And I was at his house one day, and he said we were talking about bourbon, and he said, "Well, Four Roses is just 4 miles from my house." And I'm like, "Well, let's go. I've never been over there. Would you take me?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we go over, do the tour of the distillery, and then they take you back to this presentation room where they tell you a lot more about the brand. And this lady's going on about how they use this pure water from the Kentucky River that's runs by the distillery. And I hear my birth father behind me just laughing his head off. I turn around, I'm like, what? He goes, "Pure my ass." I've peed in that river so many times and had so many cows walking through there. So,
and,
keeping it real.
and there is like a funny stories on that, because when you see how that canal and that river, when they first were walking, got cows in
Yeah,
there, cows that are in the river, just like walking across, and
yeah.
they're pulling some of the barrel thing, uh, of the rafts, and I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, if they're getting the water, I hope they're purifying it, because that cow's
Mhm.
taking a crap in there.
My goodness. Yes.
That is funny. Now my story is not quite that funny, but it was just an interesting interaction that I didn't expect. And so I was in Kentucky this past September for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival,
Oh, wow.
and I'm hitting the distilleries, and I know that I'm not able to do the tours but I've toured a lot of distilleries. And so I walk into the visitor center, and this was there as you're taking, as you're going from Louisville to Bardstown.
Hmm.
And so you drive by Jim Beam Distillery, and I come up on the Four Roses, and I go into the visitor center, and I walk in, and I'm looking around a little bit, and the lady behind the counter, she goes, "You're a graybeard."
Mm.
And I looked around, I'm like, yeah.
How about that?
And
Just
she goes, "I follow you on Instagram." And I'm like, "Cool." She goes, I've got a bottle of our single barrel select special edition release. Do you want a
mm,
bottle of it?
mm.
I'm like, "Twist my arm, please, twist my arm." And so I go in and I said, can you hold it for me? And she goes, no, actually, I need you to buy it now if you want it, and I want you to have this because I know you know your bourbons.
Mm,
And she said because this bottle was promised for one of the 25 that just left there on the tour.
mm, wow.
And so I had to buy it right then,
Wow.
and bought a few other things, but I was just kind of like, okay, she actually recognized me and she follows me. And so, I mean, it was a cool interaction.
That is. That's awesome. Yes, Kentucky's a great state, and they make some really good bourbon.
They do. I spent way too much money while I was there. Yeah, yes, Dan Grillo, cows do have to take a bath.
Uh,
Get baptized in the water, though.
yeah.
So how is your pairing? How's your pairing coming along?
Oh, it's great. I really love it. That's Four Roses single barrel. That's my go-to,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the platinum. Again, I love the spicier uh, flavors. So I'm going to have to go to the Leaf and Grain School of Pairings. I don't have the vocabulary that you guys do. So you're giving me a good education here.
Well, see, my next question was going to be in how we do our pairings. Have you heard? Have you noticed any changes going from cigar to drink or drink to cigar?
I think they complement each other really well. Like, the platinum is probably our bolder stick, and Four Roses is a nice bold bourbon, and they just amp each other up, in my opinion.
So you're already doing great by describing the cigar as bolder because we do not like the terms as full body and strong.
Ah, no, there you go. uh,
So what's
I mean, is there other things that you pair with besides bourbon?
I
question?
have a pretty good bourbon collection, so and I like some scotch too. I'm not a big fan of the scotch that tastes like, I call it campfire. It's like I'm picking some ashes out of the middle of a campfire. I don't like that. I'm more of a like Ardbeg. I like theirs, like that peaty
Hmm.
taste. Those are really good.
Uh,
Um,
you fit in so well because you've just described the two different types of Islay,
yeah,
where a lot of people will say that a smoky Scotch is peaty. I mean the campfire where you're describing your Lafroigs and your Lagavulins,
yeah,
where they're really smoky, does actually have the smallest peat counts out of most of the Scotches.
yeah,
And an Ardbeg is kind of there in the medium, but it's not a really smoky Scotch. But those
yeah,
peaty notes really come out really forward, and I love them. Ardbeg's one of my favorites.
yeah. Absolutely. I think I've got all of them that they make. So good stuff.
I taught this lovely lady here with us how to enjoy Scotch.
Well,
Uh,
I'm going to say I don't like it because they're Scotchmen, and I'm Irish, so I
oh,
mean.
wow. Wow. Now we've gone to fighting words.
We've taken this to a whole nother level now.
Almost 8, so you know what happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my heritage is Scotch Irish. So we brought the two families together.
Okay.
My heritage has nothing to do with either. My heritage is Welsh and German.
Oh, wow.
I've got
Yes.
that Native American, so we like firewater, so there we go.
There you go.
There you go. I love a lot of the after dinner dessert type drinks as well, like a B&B or a Grand Marnier, uh, the Zorno. Those kind of drinks
Mm,
are
Mhm.
great too.
yes.
Yep.
I've got some Grand Marnier in there.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good old fashioned. I love a
Oh, yeah.
good cocktail. I mean, a good old fashioned Manhattan.
Yep.
Uh, you know, Boulevardier. I really started getting into Boulevardiers as of late.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
And so, okay, so we talked about 3 library series. We
Yes.
talked about the one that the one that you're smoking, the platinum. So
Yeah.
has there been any other ones that we have missed?
Yeah, so we have a core line, and I alluded to it earlier. There's a Habano, and we've got several different Vitolas. We're pairing that back to, we really like bigger sticks, like a 660. So that's what we sell online. But going forward, we're going to sell a Robusto style in the lounges.
Oh,
So
nice.
we'll have, about 7 or 8 different sticks, but we'll have those 2 sizes for each of those. So we also have the Maduro, which I think Graybeard, you talked about that earlier.
I like that box.
Yes.
Yeah.
Red.
Fine stick. Fine stick.
This our Maduro is really different. We take some ribbing over it. It's not a typical Maduro that's like a darker leaf, like an Oscuro kind of leaf.
Mhm.
Ours is actually a Habano leaf, but the binder and wrapper are the darker leaves. So it's kind of, the ribbing we take is people say, oh, it's not a real Maduro. That's a blonde Maduro. Whatever. It's a fuller stick, and it's got a good punch without being overbearing. Sometimes the Maduros can just be too dark. You get that yellow smoke. I'm not a big fan of that. So I like our Maduro. And then we have the Platinum, which we've been talking about a lot tonight. So there's the Platinum,
Mhm.
and this is the 660, and we have a Robusto size in that as well. We also have a Corojo, and that comes in the 2 sizes as well. And a Connecticut. We're out of Connecticut's, but our new brand, we're going to bring those back as well.
Any plans on coming into some of the smaller ring gauges, such as the Coronos or Longsdales, Lanceros?
The former owner got into some of that, but we're just not big fans of that. And it's, for lighter smokers or people that just want to smoke quickly, that's great. There's plenty of other people that are doing the smaller sticks. We just decided for our brand, we're just going to keep it simple for now. Maybe later down the road, if the market is really demanding it, we might do it. But right now, we're trying to simplify and just do the 2 sizes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
And
what's
by the way, those Executivos, the ones that are have the taper on both ends there, Perfecto. Once those sell out, we're not making them anymore. So if you want those, we've got a couple hundred boxes right now. Order now, and once they're gone, they're gone. And you can get a sampler pack of that, by the way, too. We make 3 different ones: Corojo, Habano, and Connecticut.
And I like how you are doing the sampler packs too. That's really very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really enjoying this, and I will say a lot of people don't take their cigar to the end. Like they'll leave about I'm going to say about 2.5 to 3 inches.
Yeah.
On their cigar. And to me, and like Graybeard, we talked about on Twisted Pair, that you're missing out on some of the best part if you don't bring it into
where
you're nubbing it. And I'm gonna have to say, my favorite part so far is I've enjoyed the whole stick because I haven't made a weird face. You haven't seen me gone, ugh, and we told you straight up that I speak with my face, and I can't help it. Like you can just read it, and this is extremely enjoyable.
Oh,
so I'm like at the end, it's just that stone fruit, it's that sweetness of the hay. I mean, it is very, very enjoyable. So and it's not too hot, because some of them can get too hot where you can't hold it and you have to pull out your nubber and use your nubber.
Yeah.
But I'm able to do it, and that's another thing is like whenever it's a smooth, like when I'm a touch person, I have to smell my cigars. I don't know if you saw me rubbing the cigar, smelling the cigar. And now I'm going to put this caveat in there. Please do not do that at your lounge. We've talked about that. When you are looking at cigars, please do not smell it through the cellophane. A, you can't smell through cellophane. B, if you're sitting there, excuse me, Pastor, fingering a cigar and putting your hands all over it, that is just not nice. I know
Not
that people
kosher.
smoke it. But I mean, it is smooth. It is a nice feeling. It's velvety. It's very soft. There's not it's pretty because you can still see, but it's not like veiny. Veins are popping through. I haven't had any issues with the construction or big veins or what we call twigs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's been tree trunks that we've had to pull out. I
Yeah.
haven't had any of that. It was easy to cut. I did a V cut on mine. I'm not sure what Graybeard. You
I
did a
did.
V cut.
I did a V cut as well.
Yeah, he did a V cut too. So I mean, because sometimes when you're cutting, you can get those, or they pack the tobacco when they're wrapping it or rolling it, and it's too tight and it's hard to cut. And I haven't had any issues with that. So kudos to that.
Good.
I gotta echo that. I mean, a lot of times in the construction, especially on what we would consider newer cigars, we'll see that they're possibly rolled too tight or rolled too loose, and you can tell that even if they're humidified just perfectly, you can tell that in there. You want this to be, like a nice medium to medium rare type steak in its type of, squishiness, so to
Yeah.
speak. No, I mean this is perfectly. I'm getting a nice, good, even burn on this. A lot of times because box presses are a little bit harder to rotate, as you're smoking it, and I'm not getting really any canoeing. I touched it up once only because I was talking so long, and it didn't take a couple of draws on there, but no, I mean this is good, and I'm coming into the second third. This one was like a 6 inch length
Nice.
in the box press, and I'm still enjoying it. The construction, the burn, the combustion rate of it is still going good. It's not cooling down. It's not heating up, which a
Right.
lot of times in younger cigars, this isn't a younger cigar. You'll see that it'll either start burning too hot and you got to start purging it, or it'll start burning too cold and you've got to relight it to keep it going, even though you're taking a number of draws on it. And it's not for a brand that that we haven't heard much of, because I mean I didn't know anything about you guys until Zach brought you to me and said, Crossfire, these guys are Christians. They want to be on the show. But can we get them on the show? And I'm like, I need a cigar to smoke in order to know.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased. I'm impressed. These are good. You've got a good product.
Thank
And
you.
I also want to say is like the smell too of it. It's like you talk about how some people don't smoke, but they like Graybeard's dad. He doesn't smoke, but he'll go out there and he likes the aroma. And this is a very pleasant aroma, because sometimes they can be overpowering, and then sometimes they can be too not enough. But it is just, it's like this one my daughter wouldn't run from. She would be okay sitting in the lounge while I smoked this. So in fact, I think she would like the smell of the cigar. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I want to give kudos to that. And that's important, because when you smell the smoke, you're tasting it and you've got the smoke in your mouth, which is right there by your nose, so your oral factors are getting it. But then when you release it, you can sometimes smell that smoke and it impacts your cigar. And if it's not smelling right, it's going to impact how you taste the cigar. And this is really pleasant. So
Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell you how many cigars I've smoked where the flavors on it were good. They weren't great, but the smell, the aroma of it was just off-putting, to where it was kind of like a bitter type off-putting, and that just changed the entire experience of it. And no, I mean, and the other thing, in which you mentioned earlier, Red, is that the body of the smoke is nice. I'm loving the viscosity of it. I'm getting a nice, good amount of smoke, and we want a nice, good smoke that has a good mouthfeel. because that's where we get our flavors from.
Mm-hmm.
The flavors come from the smoke. We're not chewing on the tobacco.
Mhm.
The flavors are coming from the smoke, and so that's a nice, good, you want that nice, good balance of the right amount of smoke with it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you
so
guys are enjoying it.
they would purchase some, and so I'm impressed. So good job.
Good deal.
Good.
Thank
So
you. I
I,
will
I,
add
I
that our braca that you're smoking, Ash, it's it's a thicker leaf. Like you can just touch it and you'll tell, man, that's tougher than the average leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten criticism sometimes that they had to keep relighting it, like it wasn't burning smoothly and evenly through. And I've smoked obviously a ton of those, and the truth is you have to smoke it. Like you can't
Yeah.
set it down and then pick it up 10 minutes later and
mm-mm.
expect it to be lit. It has to, you have to smoke it. So that'd be
Mm-hmm.
my only word of advice to people that want to try that out. Smoke it.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well,
I like that. I like that. It's not like the Modafina, which is a little bit of a thinner wrapper. Still good, beautiful flavors with it.
Mhm.
But I like that stronger, that stronger, heavier leaf. That's why the broadleaf is such a, favorite
Yeah.
among smokers. Is for the same reason.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Now I saw on the website that y'all give back. Is that correct? Like for something.
We
So
do.
can you explain like what that part is of giving back?
Yeah.
Because we are big about giving back to people, and so I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, you know what? This is a cigar that you can really feel good about buying and smoking because we give back 10% of our profits back to Go Ministries. And by the way, if you guys want to check them out, they're gomin.org, GOMIN.org. And I am so impressed with these guys. They really are doing amazing work. I mean, they are truly transforming the community down there. And by the way, it was just announced on Holy Smokes. We are sponsoring a trip to the DR to go see Crossfire Cigars, where they're made, and meet William Ventura. And we're going to go see some other brands too, like Arturo Fuente, LFD. They're all right there. It's June 12th through the 16th. So spaces will be limited. So if you're interested, get on Holy Smokes and you can read more about it there. We just put the dates up right now. The price and schedule, all that should be coming pretty soon. But I highly recommend if you like this brand or you want to know more about it, and you especially want to see if it's for real, like what we're giving back to, go on this trip. I did not get it, frankly, until I went to the DR and actually saw what they're doing, and it's incredible. They have they employ close to 200 people, mostly Dominican. Like over 100 of those people are Dominican. They have 11 different centers around the country. The biggest one is in Santiago, where they originally started. And just last year, for the first time, the president of the Dominican Republic actually came to Go Ministries not to speak. He did not speak at all publicly. He came to see what they were doing because he heard about the fantastic work that they were doing. And they did like a 20-minute presentation to the president of the country. And he pulled him aside into a private room and he said, you know what? I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing. There was no press around.
Oh,
So
that's
he was
awesome.
truly talking to them. And he said, what can we do to help you guys? And he was serious. And they said, no, you're a busy guy. We don't want to ask anything of you. We're just honored that you would come. He said, no, what can we do to help you? And they're like, okay. So they started telling him one thing. And he said, okay, done. What's the next thing? And he did it like 7 times.
Oh
And
wow.
they just kept telling him stuff. Like for example, they bring in stuff from the US all the time and they have to ship them in on shipping containers. And it takes months, like 6 to 9 months sitting on the dock in the DR before it can get released through all the red tape and all that.
Hmm.
And they told him that. And he said, we will have that to you, within a day or two. And sure enough, they did. They got it.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And he
That's
gave him
awesome.
the phone number of his personal secretary and said, anytime you need anything, you call. So I'm just telling you that to let you know that it's really an amazing ministry, and we're very proud to give back to them.
I,
So,
I love that. That brings out another question because I've been asked this question a couple of times about with us within Leaf and Grain, and because all of us that own that are part of the owners of Leaf and Grain, we're all Christians, and everybody that is associated with us, and running all of this are all Christians. I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're a Christian company,"
mm,
and I answer back, "No, we're a company that's owned by Christians, but
yeah,
we're not a Christian company. We will hold to the Christ-like values, but we're not a Christian company. In other words, our main focus isn't the ministry of going out and spreading Christ's name.
hmm
That's just part of what we do because of who we are."
yeah.
How do you answer that same question? And you being a pastor, have you seen many people come back to you and go, well, how can you be a Christian and smoke cigars?
hmm
How do you answer those types of questions?
Yeah, I would first of all answer it the same way you did. We don't bill ourselves as a Christian cigar company. We're a cigar company that makes really good cigars, period. And we want people to smoke them because they're good cigars. You guys have probably experienced this before. There's like coffee is a really big thing where these mission groups around the world grow coffee. They ship it to the U.S., roast it here, and then sell it. Well, some of it's frankly not very good. So I don't buy it, right? But I found this one guy. It's called mythaicoffee.com. Check it
Ooh.
out. It's the best coffee I've ever had in my life. And I met this guy probably 12 years ago. We were at a conference together, and he told me this incredible story about how there was all these dormant fields of coffee trees, and they said, you know what? Let's see if we can. What kind of good coffee this is? They started growing it, and it got rated one of the highest ratings on. I wish I knew more about this, but one of the highest ratings coffee can get. And I just out of mercy to this guy to be nice, I ordered some. And oh my gosh, it's really good. I've been ordering it for 12 years now, and I buy 10 pounds at a time. You get free shipping when you buy it. So, uh, Charlie, you're welcome for the commercial there for My Thai Coffee. But it's the same with cigars. Don't buy these cigars because you feel sorry for us or you want to support the ministry. That's great. That's a good reason. Buy them because you like cigars and you want to find some new good boutique brand cigars. This is it. So, on the issue of how can you be a Christian and smoke cigars? Well, first of all, most people don't understand. They think cigars are just like cigarettes, that
Mhm.
you inhale these things. My own mother-in-law, she has been watching me smoke cigars for years. And just 2 nights ago, she came out and she made some comment about inhaling cigars. And I'm like, no, you don't inhale. She said, you got to be kidding. I didn't know that.
Well,
So that's number one.
mhm.
They're night and day different. Cigarettes, you're smoking all kinds of chemicals, paper, the filter, who knows what's in that. With cigars, it's a 100% natural leaf. It's not chemicals. It's a good product. And there have been studies that have been done. You guys have probably heard this, talked about it on your podcast before, that there is no detectable difference between somebody who smokes up to 2 cigars a day than people who don't smoke in terms of their risk for cancer. So the idea,
Came out in that report came out in 2012, and actually when it originally came out, it was 5 to 6 cigars, and then they was like, oh, well, we can't do that, so they changed it to two.
yeah. So it really cracked me up. There was a big story that came out, I think about 2 years ago. This guy who was 117 years old, and they asked him what the secret was to his longevity, and he says, I smoke 12 cigars a day. So is there some health risk? Well, yeah, but you know what? There's a bigger one with gluttony, with
Yep.
eating too much. Just look around in America. We have a serious obesity problem in America, and it's causing far more health issues than cigars, hands down, every day. So
Have you met Dr. Gabby Caffey yet?
I have not.
So Dr. Gabby Caffey 1901 Cigars. He's a physician,
Hmm.
and he talks about this. And he's one behind Boutique Cigar Association of America, and
Wow.
he talks about this very thing. And what's funny is after my divorce, I was talking with my counselor, and my counselor goes, so what are you doing for you? What are you doing for you, Graybeard? He didn't call me Graybeard, but uh, what are you doing for yourself? And I said, I smoke cigars. And he
Mm.
goes, good, don't stop.
Yeah.
And then what really got me was back in 2020, through the COVID. You remember when I got COVID, Red? And I was hospitalized.
Mm.
And all of the doctors, intern medicines, everybody comes across and says, do you smoke? Well, I smoke cigars. How many do you smoke? 7 to 10. A month?
Mm.
No, a day. And they'll look at me a day,
Yeah.
and every one of them just said okay. And then finally, the respiratory therapist doctor, what they do,
Hmm.
she comes in and she goes, that same question: do you smoke? How many?
Hmm.
7 to 10. A month? A day? Oh, okay. And I said, why do you guys keep saying okay?
Hmm.
Why do you guys keep saying okay? And she goes, because it doesn't affect your body. It
Hmm.
doesn't affect your lungs. In fact, your lungs, outside of the ammonia, your lungs are clean.
Hmm.
There's no scar tissue whatsoever that is associated to cigarettes in your lungs. And
Yeah.
she goes, how long have you been smoking cigars? And I said, I started smoking cigars in 92. And she goes, see, there you go.
Yeah. I was talking to a good friend of mine just the other day. He's a new smoker. He's only been doing it for probably 6 months. And he's been through just incredibly traumatic uh, experiences throughout his life, starting in childhood with abuse and all that. He had a huge health scare about a year and a half ago, almost died. Technically, did die. They had to revive him like twice. And I got him into smoking cigars, and he went to see his doctor just 2 weeks ago. And the doctor said the same thing to him. He told her that he was smoking cigars, and she said, "Good, don't stop." He goes, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "You're the kind of person that runs at 100 miles an hour all day long, and then when you get home at night and you sit down with a cigar, that's the only time of the day where he stops, relaxes, doesn't do anything else, and just enjoys the cigar and reflects on the day. He reads scripture, prays. That's his time to pray." And, those health benefits far outweigh any risk that the cigar is going to bring. It lowers his blood pressure, just helps him relax. I mean,
Mhm.
you could really make the case to say that it's actually helping.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what it helps, like emotional, mentally, physically, all of that stuff. And um it, and we talked about it. We always make jokes because that's when my kids know that they can talk to me, is
yeah,
because they know that mom's relaxed, she's chill, so this is when we can have serious conversation about things or just like regular conversation. And um and in most people who smoke, that is their time that
yeah,
they reflect and they think about things,
hmm,
and you need that, and it forces you to do that.
yeah,
And um we need that, especially as life gets more stressful, things go on. So I mean, it is very much needed. So
absolutely. One of the greatest problems too right now in our world, especially America, is isolation.
mhm,
We have so many options to entertain ourselves now with unlimited television,
mhm,
Netflix binging,
mhm,
video games, whatever, and it's driving people away from other people.
mhm,
Cigars actually promote getting together with other people. That cigars
mhm,
come with a great conversation with a friend. Holy Smokes is a great example. I've really got into attending. I've been a member of Holy Smokes for since it almost started, but I didn't really start going. I was afraid there'd be a bunch of weird people that show up to this thing, random internet people. And I thought, you know what?
And there are.
There are
I'm there.
Like right here.
I know I'm
I
there
mean,
too. But I started going a couple years ago, and you know what? I have a whole new group of friends. I live in Orlando, and we have over 100 people in our Holy Smokes group, and we get together at least once a month, sometimes twice, and we'll have 25 people show up to it. And my gosh, I've got 25 new friends now that
Mhm.
I wouldn't have had otherwise, and it's all over, just getting together and enjoying the stick together. My
Mhm.
partner with Crossfire, we became friends long before Crossfire, just by getting together and smoking, and he's a great guy. Really, really love him, and we have great times over a stick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so here's a funny question. Thank you, Bert, for bringing this one up. If Jesus smoked cigars, which one do you think that he would smoke? So let's go around the room. If Christ was sitting down smoking cigars with us, what would his pairing? I'm going to add to it. What would his pairing be?
Before we answer that question, what kind of wine did Jesus make? Sort of related,
Yeah.
I that's a good one. That's a good
right?
one. Yeah.
Continue.
Well, in that story, the wedding guest, they said, "Why did you save the best wine for the end of the evening
Yeah, it was good
instead of
wine.
getting?" Because usually people get drunk by the end of the time, and that's when you serve your bad wine. But
Hmm.
they were like, "Why is this the best one?" So, I'm gonna say he is not gonna pick one. He's gonna sit there and be like Luciano and just create his own cigar and prepare. And he's just gonna be like, okay, I want this note, this note, this note. Oh, and I'm gonna create this wine to go with it. So
There you
I'm
go.
going for it was whatever he created, whatever his miracle he's gonna perform. Because he could probably just take a flower leaf or whatever. It doesn't even have to be a tobacco leaf and make it
Yeah.
just. But yeah, I'm going for the easy answer. He would create one. He's
He would have his own
the
brand.
creator. So
Trinity Cigars. Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to build off of that because, I've had people ask me. It's like, well, how? I mean, you claim that you're a Christian, but yet you drink lots of whiskey. Like you, I've got a pretty good sized collection sitting right over there, and cigars, and I'll always tell them it's like, look, this is what I honestly believe. I'm gonna walk through those pearly gates when he calls us home, and he's gonna be standing there, and he's gonna go, Graybeard, come here. Here's the best cigar, and here's the best whiskey, and they go
Oh,
so well together. So I'm with you. I think he's gonna go. Not, I think he's going to probably stay on it with a wine. Probably a really nice, good, heavenly Bordeaux style blend
mm,
with a cigar that just.
hmm. Instead of naming a certain cigar, I'm going to go with a class of cigars.
Mhm.
No, wait, I will name one. Jesus wouldn't smoke factory smokes.
No, 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 he wouldn't.
No, he-
There- there's gonna be those media tempos that's gonna be in it.
Yes, he would not smoke Gurkhas. Jesus would smoke good cigars. Oh,
I like you even more now, Mark. So we had one person said a Padron 64 with a Pabst Blue Ribbon, and Christ would be able to make that pairing work.
mhm.
Mhm.
Uh, Joe Joe said I would say a Christoph guardrail because it was a miracle when Glenn Kay survived his motorcycle accident into the Oklahoma guardrail. So kind of paying homage to that. I
Oh,
like those answers. I love that. Thank you, viewers, for jumping in on this with us. That was fun.
That
mm,
was a good question, though.
That was a good question.
yeah.
And we hear so many people. We hear so many people say, well, your body is the temple, and you're damaging the temple. Well, that's not what that scripture is talking about. It's talking about our soul as being the temple of it. But nowhere in scripture, in my studies of the scripture, have I seen anything that says you can't smoke smoke cigars. You can't drink wine or whiskey. But there's a lot of scriptures that talks about the gluttony, the overdoing
Hmm.
of what it is that we do. And
Yeah.
so that's where I would come back with that of, you can be gluttonous with water,
Hmm.
which is, big part of our body's made up with water, but there's been people that overdid it with water and damaged their body or killed themselves with it. So
Hmm.
you've got to, we say in the whiskey industry, be responsible.
Mm.
Well, in the cigars, be responsible. And whatever you do, be responsible. Use common sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not militant about it like some people are, especially that are believers, and they're just out there smoking anywhere, anytime, in front of whoever. They don't care. Like
Yeah.
you will, if you were friends with me on Facebook, you would hardly ever see me mention cigars. I think I've done it one time when we bought the company.
Hmm.
I announced that we bought Crossfire, and I haven't posted since about it. So a lot of people don't even know I smoke. I don't hide it though.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the CrossFit people. How do you know somebody's in CrossFit? Just wait 5 minutes; they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Or how do you know somebody's a vegan? Yeah, just wait a minute; they'll tell you. Yeah, I don't intentionally go out of my way to talk about it because there's still a bunch of ignorance out there. And as soon as I mention that I smoke cigars, people would think that's terrible because they think, oh, it's just like cigarettes. So, I don't really talk about it that much. The other thing too, and this relates to our brand, most brands are personality driven. Like when
Mhm.
you think of Arturo Fuente, for example, you think of the Fuentes, all the personalities that are in that
Hmm.
family.
And there's
That's
a
fine. They can do that if they want to do their shtick. That's great. We don't do that. Like we would be fine if no one ever knew our names.
Mhm.
We want people to focus on the cigars. Like the cigars are the star of the show,
Mhm.
not crazy marketing or anything like that. We just want people to try it out. And you like the cigars? Okay, great. Be a fan of the cigars, not a fan of me. It's not
Mhm.
about me or my
I,
partner. My partner would say the same thing.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a great amount of humility that is missing across every industry. Every industry.
Hmm.
Is that's important to bring out, and it's something that I hope people see about us in Leaf and Grain. Yes, did I get excited of going into, and people recognize me when I go into a lounge? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm human that's excited, but I won't ever go into a lounge and go, I'm Graybeard, I'm a social media cigar whiskey influencer, you better give me respect. No,
Yeah.
I go in and buy a cigar, get a drink, and sit down and enjoy myself.
Yeah, I had a real heart to heart with my uh, other major partner just a few months ago, and I was telling him, I'm feeling this weird vibe now when I go to ministry conferences because it was originally announced that I bought Crossfire Cigars at a big pastors gathering. There was like 150 people there, and we announced it, and they all clapped. They're all smoking cigars, by the way, at the time. But I felt like people were starting to think of me as the cigar guy at all these ministry events, and I told my partner, I said, I don't want that. I've built my career as known as a ministry guy first, and by the way, I do ministry and technology consulting for churches and parachurch groups. That's what I want to be known by, not as a cigar guy. So if that offends all you guys that are raving fans of your cigar brand, I'm sorry that it's you're not going to get that at Crossfire, but we kind of like it that way. So
Don't change that. Don't
good.
change that.
Glad you agree.
But like I finished mine. I nubbed it. Like it was really,
Nice.
yeah, it's like
Mm.
it's in the graveyard of ashes. But
So, quick funny story. My brother, who made that comment earlier, I think I can say this without violating anything. It's actually an inside joke. He smoked his first cigar, and I don't think he smoked another one since. But we talked him into coming over with my other brothers, and we're sitting in my other brother's garage smoking cigars. And he got about my youngest brother that's on the podcast here. He got about halfway through his cigars, and I could tell he was really struggling through it. It's his first cigar, right? And we're kind of laughing at him, and I just looked over and I said, "Hey, man, you don't have to finish that cigar. It's okay. We're just glad you're here. We enjoy your company." He goes, "No, are you kidding? I paid $12 for this cigar. I still have $6 left on this."
So what was the first cigar that you've ever smoked?
Oh my goodness! So
Don't
I'm
say
going to ask you guys how your tastes have changed over the years, right? Because my taste certainly changed. When I first started, the very first cigar I smoked was a Baccarat. Oh
Oh,
my gosh, Connecticut,
oh,
dipped in sugar, Baccarat.
yes.
It's a terrible cigar. I would never smoke that thing now, but that got me started, and I smoked a bunch of Baccarats, the first few months. And then I'm like, oh man, I like this. I want something heavier. I want more of a tobacco taste. And it had that bitterness, once you get past the sweetness on the
Hmm.
Baccarat, it starts getting really bitter in the last third of it. So I moved on to like, gosh, what did I get into next? The Excalibur, number one. Oh yeah,
Okay.
Monterey, yeah,
Yeah.
into that. I just wanted a heavier taste as the years went on. So now my favorite is, like this Platinum's it's a heavier Habano, but that's usually where I like to land, is somewhere in the middle. I usually don't go for the dark black sticks, and I don't go to the light Connecticut's. That's my, I'll smoke them, but my comfort zone's in the middle there.
I'll smoke in red as well. I'll smoke from a lighter, bolder, and lighter intensity cigar. So you know what a lot of people equate um, the Connecticut's to. So a nice lighter, grassier Cuban or Dominican, all the way up to give me give me a Nicaraguan Esteli Puro, where it's got all of those bold, in your face, strong, intense pepper notes, all the way across the board.
Yeah.
I'm going for my, like, a lot of the viewers know, when I first started off, it was mainly with, like, Romeo and Julieta, Monte
Mm,
Cristo,
mm,
like the name Arturo Fuente. So it went more to like the known brands. And when I graduated, and in between, so great, I've been smoking for 26 years. So in between, well, and someone told me the other day, you can't claim 26 years because you were pregnant for, I've been pregnant 5 times, and my baby's had mommy's milk, so a nice way to say it that way. And I did breastfeed my children from 6 months to almost a year.
mm.
So people were like, you can't really say that yeah, it was still there. Like I'd sneak a couple in, Now when I was pregnant, let me say that before everyone jumps off and says, "Oh my goodness, you were pregnant." I was pregnant, but I did do that, and then after I graduated with my dual masters, um, I would. Someone told me to go to the Underground, which is Graybeard and I's like home lounge, and because they had a boutique, and I'm like, boutique? What are you talking about, boutique cigars? And now I kind of tend to find that is basically all I really smoke is boutique, and it's kind of been hard for me because I do work. I'm an apprentice at a cigar lounge called the Cigar Lounge, and and we do have like the main brands, like the main, and we also have boutique brands.
Mm.
And so part of when you're getting your tobacconist is you have to explore all cigars. And so it's kind of hard for me. And even the guys at the lounge, they're like, you're such a cigar snob, because I won't go for what everybody else is. I like the ones that you haven't heard of, the ones that
Mm.
are not so far out there, because it's like the care. It's like kind of like, when you go out to eat and you get a good meal, but it's not the same as what your mama would make or your wife would make, that homemade
Mm.
meal that's
Hmm.
cooked with love. I feel like boutique cigars are made with love. And I think it has to do with the hand rolling and all of that that goes in it, because there's more care to it. So I tend to go for the boutiques, but what I generally go for is my mood. I or what I'm drinking, because there's sometimes like I will say, okay, I want to drink this. What cigar am I going to put with it? So I'm very moody, and I tell people that. I was like, it depends on my mood. Nah, that didn't sound good. And I'll look at, I seriously, I will look at my humidor for 30 to 40 minutes trying to decide what I'm in the mood to smoke. And it is ridiculous because my sons smoke cigars with me. They are of age. So before people get onto that one, they're older. And my daughter, she's now smoking, my oldest daughter is now smoking cigars. And in fact, I went over to her house and we had a crawfish, first time I've ever had crawfish. And she's like, Mom, can you bring some cigars for me to smoke? So I was like, heck yeah. And so she ended up stealing my cigar because she liked it. But I was like, hey, heifer, give me back my cigar. So it just kind of, it really depends. So, and it's really nice to enjoy what I call those moments. And I've really enjoyed those moments with my sons, and now it's with my daughter. So to me, those are like the best times. And I know it's going to sound corny, and I'm not normally a corny person and romantic person. I'm not your typical female, but there's something that is more beautiful, and those cigars taste so much better when I'm enjoying them with my children.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
that's what I'm going to say right there.
Oh yeah. My son Eli, my oldest, we smoke together quite frequently when we're up in North Carolina, and he works at a cigar lounge part time there, and yeah, we have the best conversations over cigars. So absolutely.
And to that point, you don't have to be smoking a cigar and feel like you're, you know, you don't have to not smoke a cigar and be left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
And case in point, and one of my, this is going down in one of my favorite moments with my kids, is we had a Holy Smokes meetup last night. And my daughter went with me. And my daughter, she doesn't smoke cigars. She doesn't mind them, but she doesn't smoke cigars. And she's sitting down there, only woman there with a whole bunch of men, and we're all smoking cigars except for her and like two other guys. And she was a part of the entire conversation, and everybody made sure that everybody was a part of the conversation. And there's like 12 of us there. And so you don't have to smoke cigars to be a part of the community.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My wife, I can get her to smoke a cigar about 4 times a year. And the funny part of it is I'll go pick her, like we'll go to a lounge and she'll say, you go pick me out something. And I've learned now, I don't do it anymore, but I used to like pick her something a little lighter, and she'd start smoking it and she's like, okay. And she says, let me try yours. So she grabbed mine and she goes, yours is really good. Let me have that. And we would end up trading cigars. But yeah, she'll sit out with us and she enjoys the conversation, whoever we're with. So
right.
Well, go ahead.
I think that's because I do have Bug is about to be 15. That's my youngest, and she comes out to the garage, and now that the weather's getting nice, I tend to go to the backyard because it's nice and we have lights and fire, and she loves going out and sitting and hanging out and having the conversation. And it's just something different. And it's kind of funny because she's like, well, I can't wait till I become of age till like I can try one. She goes, I'm probably not going to smoke like you, but I just want to experience one with you. And I think that's it's neat. And my oldest daughter's ended up actually she dates a man who smokes cigars, and I think it's kind of interesting, funny that she's drawn to that, because of she's around that. And I took over a cigar for him, and he's like, I've never seen this one. I was like, yeah.
That's,
So it
Uh,
is nice.
mm.
so we got another question on here, and you did answer this question already, but I'm going to bring it up just in case we can entice you, maybe twist your arm into bringing out one as a special edition. And
Mm.
the question is, do you plan on making any Lanceros? And the reason why is because there's so many of us that absolutely just love the Lancero. So maybe you do a Crossfire. The I'm gonna say the San Andreas because this one's probably my favorite cigar out of the two I've smoked.
Nice.
In a Lancero.
Yeah.
If we could twist your arm a little bit there.
Yeah, I love Herrera Esteli's Lancero. That's probably my
Oh,
favorite Lancero, and that's a great cigar too because it's really reasonably priced, especially if you buy them by the box. I would smoke those a lot. Um, I also love Brick House. You asked about what I smoke a lot. I like the My Father Flora de las Antillas. That's
Hmm.
yes.
good smoke for everyday smoke.
Oh
Very good,
yes.
good price. Um, but I don't. I really just don't go through. And you know what it is about Lanceros in the smaller ring gauge. I'm a serious smoker, right? I own a cigar company and I smoke every day, and I usually have big blocks of time to do it. So our kids are all grown, and I am semi-retired, I guess. I got big blocks of time to smoke, like 4 to 6 hours. And a Lancero, I can smoke that sucker in 30 minutes. So I'm
Really?
going through several of them usually. So that's why I like a bigger cigar is I just have time, and it takes a while to smoke a 660. Like
It,
this is a 660, and what are we, an hour and 45 minutes in? I still got another 15 minutes here.
well,
There
I mean, an hour and 45 minutes, and you can see I'm now
you go.
coming into the final third. And what's interesting on this one?
Two.
What's that?
I had the same size, and I'm a fast smoker. So,
Oh, wow.
I
How
mean,
fast can you smoke a 660?
I'm going to tell you, I do not like the bigger ring gauges,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell you from a tobacconist
Yeah.
part, and I'm going to kind of bring up on the Lancero
Yeah.
because that's why we're shocked for like 30 minutes. Because usually with the Lanceros, it's like it's more of the wrapper and
Uh-huh.
less of the binder and the fillers.
Yep.
So you get majority of your taste through
Yep.
that wrap. So, I enjoy it because it is a stronger cigar, most
Hmm.
of the Lanceros. And especially the darker, the heavier Nicaraguans and things like that.
Yep.
So, it for me, I'd rather have that Lancero because it is a little bit longer to get through. I'm going to say the reason I'm not a big ring gauge girl is because there's so much of that binders and fillers
Yeah.
on
Well,
that.
my comment to that is stop smoking those cheap cigars. You got to have good tobacco all the way through.
I don't smoke cheap cigars. No,
I,
I
I'm
don't do
teasing
that.
you. You know that, right?
yes.
But I'm gonna
I,
say this one's the one that I smoked tonight was bigger than what my wheelhouse that I normally go for.
Yeah.
And but the key was it was consistent. The flavors were there because
Mm.
we talk about flavors, and I didn't lose flavor. I didn't.
Mm.
And sometimes, you're gonna lose those flavors. So to me, I would try your bigger 6x60. I would smoke that again.
Yeah.
So, and then there's also, sadly, I wish I had those blocks of times to smoke on that, but I do work a lot. Wednesday is usually the only day that I'm home early to, because Wednesday is my night to do the podcast, so I get to smoke and I get to have an
Yeah.
adult beverage. So, like I tend to go, for an hour to an hour and a half smoke on those. But on the other nights, I don't have that time, so I'm going to go for a smaller ring gauge just to.
Yeah. I
So
tell
I
you what,
live
uh,
for people's lifestyle.
when we come out with our new batch, I'll send you guys our Robusto size.
Okay.
Now that I know that's what you like, And you got to meet my partner too, Brian Adamson. He's a fantastic guy. And we'll talk again. We got some new stuff too that you guys should try out.
Yeah.
We'll definitely
Yeah.
bring you back on, and I would love to get some more of your smokes. I'd love to do a review. You know, sit down, do a review of the cigar. Where we can sit and focus in on it and get into the notes, get into the flavors. I mean, it's hard for us to do that on when we have on the show, because especially when we have a guest, because we want to involve you and talk about you and promote you, and whoever our guest is.
Yeah.
So I really want to get into what Crossfire has to offer and what you guys have to offer, to really get into exploring the pairings and what it is that we're seeing and bringing out on this. And also, we're going to do what we can to try to help blow you guys up, and all of our viewers. If you are not following Crossfire, here's their website. I put it up a couple of times. Their website. Check out the different blends that they have right now. Pick up on them, because as you've heard what Mark has talked about, they are going to change. You guys have 2 different Instagrams. This one, Crossfire Ignite the Passion. And before we close, I'm interested in knowing where Ignite the Passion comes from, because I've seen that on the website as well. But you do have this other one. So go out and follow. Let's help these guys blow up. Let's get them. They're less than 1,000 followers.
Spread the gospel of Crossfire.
Spread the gospel. Ignite the passion.
Yeah, so here's a sad story. Our Facebook page and our Instagram and Twitter that came with the company when we purchased it, the previous owner lost the logins. And can't recover the accounts. So we had to start new ones. So the new one is Crossfire Ignite the Passion.
Okay.
And that's also Instagram. I think it's Crossfire Ignite the Passion as well. You can go look at the old ones. They're still up, but they're dead.
Okay, good to know. So follow Ignite the Passion right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, after the show, not right now. After the show.
Unless you're on your computer and then you have your cell phone. Or
yes.
You're on your iPad.
There you go. Yeah.
So what other?
I would just say to people, we really do need help with getting the word out. That's our number one issue, is just people don't know about us. So when you smoke a Crossfire, give us a shout out on social media. That's a really good way to help people find out about the brand. And if, give us honest reviews. If there's things you don't like, that's fine. Keep it real. You're not going to like all of our cigars, but hopefully there'll be one in there that you really, really like and want to keep smoking. So I appreciate that.
I would venture to say that just in the 2 that I've smoked, and hearing Red with the one that she smoked, that you're going to find something that you guys like. I mean, seriously, to be able to pull this out, first time I've ever seen this cigar, and to have a nice, light amber coloring in the cello already, that tells me that this tobacco has got some age to it, and there's some quality behind this. Just from that alone, I mean, I was just like, okay, I did not expect to see a yellowed, amber colored cello on this.
Oh yeah. And our new ones have been aging for 1.5 years, so they're smoking really nicely now. No ammonia at all. They're coming along really well.
Look, he even used the tobacco term, pneumonia.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, look, you're already in the leaf and grain right there, society.
Oh, you're part of the family already, brother. You are leaf and grain society right now. I can tell already, especially when you describe a cigar as being bold and not as being full body or strong.
I don't know if you've had Zach on here very much, but I first met Zach from Leaf and Grain, and we just had a great time. We met out in Colorado last year, and the funny thing is, we were sharing our stories, and he actually grew up in the county next to where I grew up in Kentucky. And the interesting thing too is I think Zach did, but I worked in tobacco as a kid, like high school, junior high, high school. That was big tobacco country there in central Kentucky. They were all, used for cigarettes, but I got my exposure to it quite early. And I didn't touch it after, junior high as I stopped. And I never did smoke. We were into chewing tobacco. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh. But stopped that after junior high and didn't pick it up again until, good grief, early 2000s. So, yeah, I go way back with it, though.
I chewed tobacco in high school one time, and my
Yeah.
dad said, because my brother chewed tobacco,
Mhm.
and he's 3 years older than I, and he chewed tobacco, and you want to be like your brother.
Yeah.
And so my dad came out, says, "Oh, so you're chewing tobacco, huh?" And I'm like, "Yep. I'm a man now." He goes, "All right, let's see how much of a man you are. You ain't allowed to spit."
Mm.
Oh my goodness, I never chewed tobacco again after that.
No.
Never chewed tobacco again after that. One time.
I was out with my friend who lived on a farm, and we spent a lot of time on his farm, but we're both chewing tobacco, and we decided to go swimming in the river on his farm with chewing tobacco in our mouths. And I tell you, I got so sick, I started turning green, and that was the last time I ever put that stuff in my mouth.
Oh yeah.
No. I'm just going to say this as a lady. That's nasty.
Oh, that nasty. That's right.
And I mean, there's nothing like alerting about it to see people sit there and spit it out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, look, I actually have seen someone at the lounge have chewing tobacco.
Yes.
Cigar.
Oh.
That's hardcore right there.
Doing that cigar. And it was a good cigar. And finally I was like, you are slapping that cigar in the face and you're making me nauseous. And I was like, stop. You got to stop. I was like, I can't handle it.
Nope. Oh,
No.
That gut there dip. No. Oh, we have to like change the subject. I'm feeling green.
I had to bring that one on. I'm glad you mentioned it because I was like, should I? Nope. Yep. I'm bringing that one on.
Yep.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming on here. You have sold me. I'm just the story because I'm all about stories, and I know Red is all about the stories. We love the stories. The story behind Crossfire, behind you, and what you guys are doing. I'm going to recommend that people come out and try that. Explore, step outside of your box with cigars.
Oh.
Step outside. Put the Padron down. Put the Alec Bradley down. Not that there's anything wrong with those.
No.
Enjoy those, but put them down for a moment. Pick up a Crossfire and explore your pairings on that. Step outside. Closing comments. What's next? We know that you've got some things coming up, some new blends coming up from Crossfire. What's next, and where can people go to get these?
Yeah, so we are doing a rebrand, so all new boxes and labels, and we have a couple of new sticks. We have a new Habano, a new blend. We've sold Habano forever, but this is a new blend that is really good. I gave it the early runs to a couple of friends, and they like, you got to get that out yesterday. It's so good. So be looking for that. And we have a new San Andreas that's coming out. It's not box press. It's going to be a Robusto size, and I think we also have the 660 coming out as well, the Magnum. So be looking for those. I'm projecting early summer for when we're going to have those in the country. And just watch our website, crossfirecigars.com. Go there today. I will tell people, probably shouldn't do this, but for you guys, we do offer a 10% discount if you use the discount code called Pastors Rock.
Oh.
Pastors with an S, Rock, ROCK. And that'll get you a 10% discount on any of our sticks.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Give
So
me a.
when you check them out, the website is Graybeard put it up, so definitely check that out. And here's my thing: is Graybeard and I are brutally honest. If we didn't want, we didn't like a cigar, we wouldn't recommend it. We wouldn't say go to the website, grab some. But yeah, go to the website, grab some. They're good.
Go to the website and grab some. Use the discount code. I'm not going to be posting this discount code anywhere beyond this, so you guys hit them up on this.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Great to meet you. And hopefully, I should be in Dallas this year. I'll look you guys up. Let's smoke one at the Underground.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm going to ask that both of you stay on with me just for a minute as we end this broadcast. We've got great things coming up. We've got more guests coming up. We've got more pairings coming up. No, I can't tell you what we've got coming up next week because Red and I haven't actually talked about that yet. But we will, and we will let you know soon. But until then, explore the pairings.
There's something for everyone. Have a good night, y'all.
Have a good night.